Start recording. There we go. Okay. I figured it would be helpful for me to kind of give you guys something you can read along with as I'm going over our dork notes that we put together. Um, so share screen and this one and go live. Okay, it's not the screen that has porn on it. Perfect. Um, so if you guys want to follow that, you can. One of the main things that we wanted to go over, which has kind of being voted about, was the mod topics. Um, there was a positive vote for better archery, as well as extended player inventory. With those two, if we decide that we want to use extended player inventory and still be able to maintain our armor slots and our quick access bar, then we're totally fine. But if we want to increase the amount of rows that we have in our inventory, then there's going to be a collision of boxes on the screen, at which point we would need to also use better UI that allows you to move windows around your screen, as well as it's everything, your health bars and stamina bar, and then also about how things react in the game. There's a lot of really cool things that better UI offers, but it does kind of give the customization, which takes from the vanilla experience a little bit. But if we did want to go that route, for those that are present right now, which is 5 of us, um, how does everybody feel about having additional rows in the inventory? And we will talk more about skills add carry weight, as you can see coming forward. So just on the topic of more rows, how does everybody feel about that?
Well, with the existing mod that we're using, we have 5 equipment slots and we have 3 extra hot buttons. So that's already 1 extra row of inventory that we have without even realizing it. My main concern is not the extra space, it's the extra carry weight in combination with the extra space.
Okay.
So if we wanted to have more than 1 additional row, which would equal what we have now, I would say we should be a little bit hesitant to ramp up the carry weight for skills too high.
Okay.
I can agree with that.
Okay. So at this point, if we were to increase rows, we would either want to drastically reduce skills carry weight or remove altogether and just have the more rows and not increase carry weight.
I'd say if we made all of the modifiers 1 for run, jump, swim, unarmed, or whatever those skills are, if they're all just reduced down to 1 carry weight per skill level, I don't think it matters how many rows you have.
Okay. And
can I make a suggestion?
Yes, please.
Jotun backpacks.
I saw that one, and that one looks really cool. I'm not gonna lie.
It works really well.
It does, yeah.
There's so you get when you get a backpack that gives you let's see what I have right now in this one. 6x3. And you wear it, and when you're wearing it, it's a negative 15% movement speed to give some balance to being able to do it. But you also, when you put things inside of the backpack, it is half weight. Just an idea.
Right.
I love it.
I'm not gonna lie. My only reservation with that one was the dependencies.
Sure.
I do like that mod a lot. I have not played with it yet. I was looking into it when I was going through these, trying to find ways to make things more sensible for everybody. And I saw that one, and I thought about suggesting it myself. But then I saw the dependencies, and I feel like getting a mod that requires people to download this mod and that mod, and then it's like, I just made it sound like a lot more than it is. It's 2 additional mods. But I personally feel like it starts putting too much stress on people getting mods to just be able to be on the same playing field as everyone else. But that doesn't mean I'm like no to that mod. I did want to chime in a comment that Sent made. I wanted to pay this forward. He was saying about the rows and the carry weight. that more inventory rows would be a positive thing. Too much carry weight gets kind of stupid.
Agreed. I think
So
not being able to carry something because you have 5 raspberries and 5 cloudberries and 5 blueberries. Oops, too many stacks. Why couldn't you throw? They're the same amount of stuff. It's just, So
Right.
I'd rather have more rows than more carry weight.
right.
But I'm not opposed to having a little bit more carry weight.
Okay. So I think 1 per skill across the board, run, jump, swim, punch, doesn't seem unsensible. I mean, we were stoked just to get a belt that gave us 150 additional carry weight. Like, that was cool. So now we're talking about something that's going to increase it even just by 400. If you play long enough to get to 100 skill level, that might not be a bad idea. So I do know that leaving it as its current state was upvoted. With the 5 people that are on with those ideas in mind, how does everybody feel about how that sounds? Where we would take them back down to 1 carry weight per level for all of the skills involved, which are, if you're not familiar, run, jump, swim, and punch, or unarmed. And then increase our rows in our inventory to 2 so that we can, in situations, get more mushrooms and berries and thistle, and we can get more stacks going that don't weigh that much. How does everyone feel about that? I didn't know if I worded that question right.
I'd say, consider the last time you actually used a cart.
Yeah.
Carts are there to hold the heavy stuff, not people carrying 900 weight apiece.
Right.
Mm-hmm. That's been a while since I've used a cart.
Yeah.
Okay. They make for really good drop points when you come through portals.
You can also just put everything in the cart while you get all your stamina back, pick up everything, and just waddle, and then you can even go up hills and stuff that the cart would be too heavy for. There's still workarounds.
Never actually thought about that, but that's clever. Okay, so am I picking this up right from everyone? We are saying 2 rows on equipment, extra player inventory, and cutting down skills to 1 each.
That sounds good.
Okay.
Yep.
And with the 5 of us here, which would be the majority of our group on the server, are we all for that? I
I'm
guess
for it.
silence. Okay, I'll take silence as yeses also.
Okay.
I feel like, I guess if you're not saying anything, then you're for it. If it's a yes or no question, that's a fair assumption, I think. Going on. Oh wait. All right. So we're gonna move on to just kind of hit on the 3 topic here. We're only gonna allow people to use mods that are on the list. So once this conversation is done, probably tonight when I get home from work, I will go through and change the mod voting channel back to acceptable mods list. Remove the ones that didn't make the cut. But I did not ask you guys. Better archery is gonna have to go. Are we all okay with that?
Well, is that because of the quiver thing, or just because of arrow
So
stuff?
better archery, it's not just because of the quiver. It doesn't all your abilities, like, it doesn't work. You can't do things anymore like shooting a bow, and it just the mod itself collides with the extended player inventory. Or
Got
no,
it.
with better UI, I believe is what it was colliding with. There was a collision. I didn't make a note of what it was, but as soon as I got either extended player inventory or I got the better UI reforged, one or the other, better archery was no longer working. And it was messing up the gameplay. Like, you couldn't shoot a bow properly. It was just getting really funky. And I looked into it and found that it was indeed a conflict of mods. I think maybe because they both are affecting inventory. So one or the other had to go. And if we are trying to lean in a direction where we have an increased increased
I think
inventory.
it was only Gloria Hughes using that one anyway.
The better archery.
At least she's the only person I know who had the quiver.
Oh, I had one.
I
Which
had one too,
I
but
would be
I didn't
sad to
use it
see it
much.
go, but there's workarounds,
Yeah.
especially if we have 2 extra rows of inventory. So I think it's safe to assume we're all okay with better archery being gone. It's cool. All right. Um, only mods on the list are going to be allowed. This is, of course, on an honor system. We're really hoping that everyone can um, be on the level with this, and also that people aren't tweaking their settings to be OP in the things that they do. Because it is client side, people do have the ability to say, you know what, I want to be able to carry 5,000. And
I want to turn up the boat speed to 1,000.
yeah, right. Why not? Zoom, zoom. Um,
Have you ever
so
tried that?
I have not yet,
We
but
we'll have to show you later.
so skills add carry weight. We're gonna go ahead and lower these down to everything. Now there was some testing done on advanced boating, which did make the cut. It got enough votes for yay that we will be using it. There was some testing done on it last night. Me and Evan and Katie got on a boat and tried some settings. The default is that every person attached to the boat is a multiplier of 3 to the row speed. So the second we had 3 people, including the driver, on a boat on a long ship, the boat row speed was faster than sailing with the wind. Like, which doesn't seem like, I personally agree that that's kind of broken. We shouldn't be able to row faster than we can sail, even if you have 100 people. That's not going to be a thing. So what we had discussed was the possibility of reducing the long ship down to be, instead of 3 times, it was
1.5.
1.5, because it is multiple. It's a multiplier. It would basically increase it by 50%, no, 25%.
So we'd need like 4 people sitting on the boat to be able to row as fast as sailing, which won't happen very often.
So now in moments where we have like all of us on an excursion together, we're fucking zooming, man. Like we got 6 of us on there, everyone's attached to the boat, and we're rowing faster than we could sail. Why not? We're all together. We're going for an adventure. Let's have some fun, right?
Yeah.
So I'm not gonna mess with the carve setting, I don't think, unless we decide as we're playing, okay, this is kind of not the vibe, and we want to.
How many people can attach to a carve? Just 2?
I believe it's 2, yeah.
I would make it 1.5 on all the ships.
So 1.5. How does anyone else feel? Does 1.5 sound good to everybody?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sounds fun.
All right. Let me draw attention to this so I know which ones to change. And I will, with all these things, that configs that I'm making changes on, I will likely share the config file with people that you could then just drop in, and you don't have to worry about changing any values. You can just drop it in, overwrite, and then you've got the same as everyone else.
Now, one thing
ahead.
I saw on that mod that we didn't actually talk about was there was a setting for people being seated versus people being attached.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just curious if that means hanging onto the mast or being on the very front of the ship.
It does.
Okay. Because if there's a way to make it so you actually had to be on the seats, then you are limiting it to 4 people on the long ship.
Right.
You know, as opposed to 6.
Which at that point, if that's worth mentioning, let's go into that for a second. There's 2 very easy settings to change. One, as Evan was saying, where you're seated, and one where you're attached, which includes the mast, which I think you can actually have 2 people attached to the mast.
Yeah.
And then the person on the on the bow of the ship, which, unless they're reaching down in the water and paddling with their hands, I don't know how someone on the bow of the ship is going to be contributing, realistically speaking, in a video game. Does everyone want to just keep it attached, or do we want to do only the ones that are seated can contribute?
They seated.
Seated.
Yeah, seated.
Because then you can still attach yourself to the boat and not be contributing to the speed, which might be preferred at times.
Right. And it looks like Sentient is chiming in. Seated? Question mark? Sure. Okay.
Okay.
So that majority rules, and for the most part, I'm going to be down with the majority on a lot of these. So if you guys are all about it, I'm about it. So we're going to go ahead and do seated, which then means that we at 1.5 multiplier will likely never be faster than sailing, but we're not
Well,
going to be sitting there
if we get all 4
slugging.
seats, we're probably right there.
Right. All right, cool. Awesome to get past that. Ship exploration, I personally don't think we need to change it. But if anybody doesn't agree, the raft, if you're on it, increases your field of view for revealing the map by 1.5. The carve is by 2 times. The longship is by 3 times. Those are the defaults. I've tested it out. It seems legit enough where when you're at sea and you see land in the distance, like not the distance, but like you can see the land and you can see a tree on it and you can make out what's actually there. It's revealed on the map.
3 sounds like on the upper edge of what I would want to go with, but if you think it's fine, I'll go with it.
Okay. Anyone else have any input or any experience with it that they'd like to chime in on?
I just sometimes exploring more on the map isn't as good as actually exploring it.
This is just when you're on a boat, though.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we are
Otherwise, we could just make them all 2, I guess, would be my alternate.
Okay.
It's not like we're not going to use the long ship just because we want the, radius or whatever. So make them all 2. I'd be happy with that as well.
Okay. Okay. Sent is proxying his vote to me. He says whatever you guys think makes sense, and I'm taking it as a proxy. I'm voting for him.
I'm a little concerned that 3 might be more than we want at times.
Correct.
But you, the one having used it, will have a better feel for this.
So here was the test. In our normal size, like kind of river / body of water going through 2 lands, sailing down the middle of it revealed the shores on both sides of this river-sized body of water.
Okay, and that's with 3.
That's with 3 on the long ship. So what we can do, maybe.
Is this customizable?
Could
I reduce it to 2? Okay.
You can.
I'll just probably do that.
So if you're going to reduce it to 2, please let everybody know. And that way maybe we can get a screenshot of what the difference is that you're getting versus other people's, and maybe we all agree with 2 would be better. Because maybe you find out that you're revealing the map, and then all of a sudden there's a Leviathan in front of you before you, like, in a spot that the map was cleared. You know what I'm saying?
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Maybe 3 times is big enough that the Leviathan won't spawn, and you'll just pass right by it.
Mm-hmm.
But 2 times will put you in range for it to spawn.
Sure.
So these are things worth considering as well. So as we go through, I think ship exploration radiuses are subject to change, and it's an easy enough setting to change. So we'll leave it as is for now. Okay, speedy paths, the fun topic. Speedy paths did win. However, the default settings are a little broken. So dirt paths, I mean, I do want to share with everybody the speed buffs on these do take into consideration your current run skill. So as your run skill goes up, this percentage base increase is also technically going to go up respectively to your level.
I would say 5 or 10% max on any of these. 40 is crazy.
Okay. Anyone else have any opinions on the difference between dirt paths, stone paths, wood structures, core wood? I don't know who builds floor with core, but stone structures and ironwood structures, sure. Any inputs?
I agree with Evan, what he said just previously.
Yeah, I'd say
These default values are too high.
Okay.
5% for dirt, stone, cultivated wood, core wood. 5% for all of them. Even 5% is going to make it worth it. We built paths anyway, remember?
Right.
I mean, if you really want to put 10 on stone paths, I won't complain, but 40 is crazy.
40 is crazy.
10, I could just say just because you have more of a solid ground.
Yeah. Okay. So just make them all 10, or make dirt 5 and the rest 10.
Okay.
Probably dirt 5 and then the stone 10.
Cultivated. Cultivated should be 1,000 though. I want to make it farm.
So there was actually some that I read about the cultivated being a debuff to where being on cultivated soil slows you down.
Does it actually help for? Oh, that's only been sprinting though, is it, or is it walking too?
No, this is just your all-around speed.
Because would it be helpful to move slower on cultivation?
Technically.
So sure, make cultivation like 0.8 or 0.75.
Well, I think it would be like a negative.
Or
percentage.
however you do it.
This mod actually uses percentage.
Okay.
I believe. So yeah, we'll do negative.
Negative 10, negative 20.
-5, I think. We'll keep it basic.
Well, just
we'll do the
whatever-
opposite
whatever
of dirt path.
Whatever Elrose wants for slowing down it, so he doesn't have to like, makes it easier to do cultivation.
Right.
Yeah, we'll see what 5 does for now.
And
Okay.
we're thinking dirt paths be 5.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Do we want to do stone paths 10?
10.
Yes.
All the rest can be. I would actually not want structures to have
Okay.
anything.
Okay.
Make them 0.
How does everyone else feel about running around inside your house being a 0%?
That's fine. It'll be normal.
Right.
Yeah, you're only gonna see that on like the tops of walls and bridges and stuff, which, I don't think it really matters so much.
Anyone
If
else?
we build a massive island-sized castle, maybe we revisit this. But I think for the moment, this is just traveling between locations.
Okay. This is true. Anybody else have any input about? Well, first let's say dirt paths, stone paths, and cultivated. Any issues with those values?
Nope.
Okay. I do want to bring up. There's a stamina usage part of this mod, where it reduces the stamina usage when on these paths.
Is that a separate number or the same number?
It is a separate number. It's a little bit more complicated,
Okay.
but it was a small amount. Like I tried doing the testing on and off the path to see how much my stamina was dropping while sprinting, and
Sure.
I, while on a path, could kind of count it sprinting, going 79, 78, 76, or 77, 76, 75. Whereas when I was not on a path, I could barely keep up with the count of it. So it's not a huge difference. It's definitely going to be stamina saving when you're going on long trips, say from house to house or whatnot. Do we want to entertain those values at all, or just leave it as is?
Neutral.
Okay, I'm neutral as well. I could take or leave any change, so we'll probably just avoid the complication of it. Okay, cool. So, and just because it's part of it, I want to bring this up. There's a modifier for biomes on speedy paths. Don't fuck with it.
Nah, leave it alone, I think.
I could see us just being nice to starting players in the meadows, give them an extra 5%, or just none at all.
Okay. I was leaning towards none at all, but
if we were gonna have new players joining us later, maybe we add that in. But who cares?
okay, cool. All right, so that's basically all the mod talk that I think we really had to go over to kind of get everybody on the same page. Let me just double check the mod list to make sure that I'm not missing anything.
On the Better Wagon mod, I never actually used it. What does that do?
Just as I think it's based off of your run skill, primarily your run skill.
Wagon.
Yeah. So
Okay.
you're not sitting there trying to get up a small hill because you're full of iron in your cart. You just get better
Got
at
it.
holding it as your skill goes up.
Okay.
And it's a passive one. I don't even know how to change the config on it. I've tried. There's no change. It is what it is.
And then the other comment would be regarding the only allowing mods on the list. I know that Katie's going to want to use Gizmo occasionally. Is that now out, or are we still letting her do that?
That's gonna be out. Yeah, I think we want to try to keep everything on the same playing field as much as possible. Nobody going outside the bounds, and ideally, everyone's kind of agreeing to these experiences being part of their experience. And I don't want anything to kind of take from people's experience.
That's good.
So, yes, it'll be on the list. We can use it. If it's not, we can't.
Okay.
Looking through the list here, I just want to share with everyone. I did find out that advanced boating does have one dependency, and that's the mod config enforcer. So if you do decide to partake in being able to add to our boat speeds, you will need to get both of those, unfortunately. And extended player inventory, as previously discussed. If you're going to use that mod, you will also need to get better UI reforged.
Now, using the R2 Modman utility that I'm using, you can just download or create an entire mod list. So you could just give somebody the list, say download this, and it would download all the mods.
That's how big mod servers do it. They all use R2 Modman.
Yeah.
And it basically what it does, it runs an instance on top of the game, so you don't have to affect the files as much
so
as you just download.
I can run vanilla, or I can launch a specific mod list with the click of a button.
And you can share it with just a code. So all they really need to do is know the code to put in to update mods, and it's very handy.
Does that allow for custom config files, or would we have
Sure, yeah, no, it will. When you give them the code and they update the code, it will update the configs as well.
That's cool. So that might be a way we want to do this.
It's very commonly used. I'm using it even when I go into you guys. You're like, oh, download these mods. I'm like, all right, I'll just make my own.
That's actually what I have too.
And I just load it through Modman anyhow.
I've just never set up the the overall code with it.
So this R2 mod thing is something that everybody would have to.
Yeah, that is a utility that you would launch. You would tell it, hey, I want to download the gameplay progression server mod list. Just click launch modded, and it would launch the game with all the mods for that server. It's very simple to use. Just if we're going to have a bunch of mods and we want to have custom configs, this is probably way easier for the average person than actually installing all the mods individually and swapping out config files.
Very true.
R2 mod?
Yeah, R2 Modman is its own little thing that comes out of Thunderstore, Thunderstore IO in their launcher through Overwolf. And people just use R2 Modman, which is much more basic than
there's
Thunderstore stuff.
There's a config editor right here.
Do you need to have Overwolf?
I don't
know how you. It's been so long since I got R2 Modman.
Okay. All right. I just know that I had Overwolf for a while, and I did not like even having it on my computer. I felt like it was just really crappy, but I don't know.
I don't know exactly.
Okay, so I will look into R2 Modman to see about making the ease of access to all these things easier. These aren't changes that we need to all start making to our gameplay right now, because this is going towards, by the way, of a server reset.
One more thing. When the mountain change happens, would we want to do it immediately? Suppose it happened in a couple of days. Are we going to want to do that immediately? Do we want to wait for Glory to come back, or what's the timing on that?
We will. I think given the we'll probably wait for Glory to get back and make sure that we're all available on a launch day, and that way we can all kind of hit the ground running all together, go mobbing, and trap boars and deer and all that great stuff.
All those naked troll runs will be great.
Yes. I did forget to mention on these notes, I believe, the idea that we wanted to discuss, funny enough, of a server reset. I think the general consensus is most people are on board with the idea. My only reservation with doing so is I thought that this was going to be the last reset I ever had to do. The one that we are currently on. Getting a little bit opinionated about it, so forgive me on this. but I was under the impression that I designed a server to work in a way where we would never have to reset. We would play slow, discover slow, explore slow, so that we would be able to keep up with the upcoming updates.
Sure.
So
I
basically,
think
we would leave Mistlands undiscovered. I didn't realize that there was a mountain update coming, so that's bad on me. But at the
I
same
don't think
time,
any of us saw that.
right?
But I think we could absolutely make this next one that. But I think we should throw some extra caveats on there as far as exploration, ownership of outposts, just general procedural things.
Cool.
You know,
Which
to get everybody on the same page.
everything you just said is coming up here shortly. So perfect. I do want to touch on this idea and get some ideas from you guys of other possibilities that we can do. So I know that there gets dry times where we're like, people get on and they don't know what the hell there is to do. They feel like they've done everything and they're just reaching for something. So I, Sent and I were kind of pitching some ideas back and forth, and the idea was brought to life of weekly events, where it could be structured where it's like 1 to 52, and each one represents a week, and it's this week we're focusing on this week we're focusing on that, or it's just a sporadic kind of spin the dice and see what you get, spin the wheel and see what you get, and whatever you land on is what we're doing that week. For instance, new land conquer. So, okay, this week we're going to find a new land and we're going to go conquer it. Whatever that means to you, whatever that means to the group, to me, that means fucking clear it of everything. I know I'm weird and I like clearing all copper nodes and all tin and all that from a land. I don't think a lot of people share the same ideals with me.
Not just that. We need to level the whole land so it's as low as possible.
And make sure every tree is gone.
We need to mine out every square inch of the island to the bedrock.
Yes, exactly. And
Yeah.
only then can we go on to the next land. So with that, that obviously is going to include an outpost, preferably on the coast, somewhere where you can sail up quick, drop things off, or port to and explore to the next land. Eben did bring up the idea of outposts being, instead of just an outpost, we're going to move away from the concept of everybody's home is on the mainland. I'm still adjusting to the idea. It's not a bad idea to make it to where each outpost is an individual person's home. It's designed to be communal. It's designed
Yes.
to be where everybody can travel through. Yes, they will probably have their private quarters that they deck out and make it their own. And people are more than welcome in this server to go and explore their private area, their private, their private,
I'm here, but
Welcome.
their rooms. We'll say explore their rooms, their private areas.
Sure. So the idea I had here was just we have all these outposts that the outpost itself it gets built and then I feel like we barely use it. Whereas if somebody was taking ownership of that and said I kind of live here, they would take a little bit more care and just make it feel more homey, even the parts that are the communal aspects.
Correct. So we will be alternating on that as we were trying to do before, where when we find a land, someone is going to claim it, most likely one of the few people on the boat, as will be mentioned soon. And as was mentioned on the previous run through, is sailing always happens with a group. Exploring always happens with a group. If you're going to travel an already explored route to move things back and forth, you're more than welcome to do that alone, but stick to the route that's already been uncovered. Any advanced exploring, uncovering map areas needs to happen with a group. Preferably
I like that.
3 or more to try to get as many people involved as possible. If there's only 2 people on, then so be it. But if there's 3 or 4 people on, try really hard to get everybody. Hey, whatever you're doing right now, let's switch gears a little bit and let's go on an excursion. Pull people out of their bubbles a little bit and get people involved and keep, it gets everybody ramped up about things. And if maybe you really want to go sailing, but they're like, I really got to get this build done. Okay, what do you need for that build? You need wood, you need stone, I got you. And we all just pitch in. Like when Toys came onto the server for the first time the other day, Gloria and I went over there and started chopping down trees, breaking some stone, taking in resources. Yes, he was new to the server, but also it should be like that. If you're building, you need help, we got you. So I'd
Which
like
is very
to
nice.
Yeah, I'd like to
Sounds
see
good.
a lot more of that happening, where if you know someone's working on a build, offer some help, see what you can do. Um, I'm going to mention later again, but I do feel like when your choices that you make in the game are leaning more towards the benefit of other people, then the reward of that kind of delays the feeling of stagnant in the game.
Yep. And I have made the immense self-sacrifice of actually planning on using an axe this time around.
Very nice.
My God, man.
To catch you up, Toys, I don't think Eben had any axe skill. Oh no, he had 0 axe skill until his knife hit 100 skill.
No. I still have not actually unlocked the woodcutting skill.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so
You never cut
So,
a tree.
so I have the axe skill because I picked up an axe, but I've never hit a tree with one.
He's only hit saplings with knives, so it doesn't count.
Yep.
yeah, so
it used to. Does it still give you experience?
No.
No, you have
used
to hit enemies to get skill with things now.
When did they
Did I-
change that with Hearth of
I
Home?
don't know. I used to have a rock in my house for punching.
it was Hearth and Home changed that, I believe. Okay, so Outpost will be home. I think we can get on board with this. Assistance and its development will be welcomed, obviously, but please keep in mind that the creative control is going to be in the hands of the owner of that spot. So if you're going to help out, cool. If you have ideas, pitch the ideas versus just doing them and leaving it to be destroyed by the owner, because that's rude. And if you're building on something that's meant to be, it's your home, but it's also going to be an outpost for, or a communal outpost, if you're kind of neglecting its improvements and you're dragging ass on it and someone steps up to kind of help complete some of the needed aspects like workbenches, forge repairs, sleeping quarters, things like that, don't get mad at them. Like, unless you're just absent from the game because life is crazy, if things are just obviously being neglected and someone steps up, it is what it is. What are you going to do? Like, get in and get it done. Ask for help if you need it, you know? And also keep in mind, we do need sleeping quarters for the group. Dragon beds are not required, obviously, because that gets really expensive.
And to expand upon that point just a little bit, like, I mean, one thing I've learned from this last run through is that I don't really want to build things quite as big as I have in the past. But also, too, like, Barnland is a great example of, like, you know, I built this huge structure, but then I took forever getting the actual essentials, like, put into it. So it's like, if someone had come along and been like, fuck this, I'm going to build an upgraded workbench, like, I don't really feel like it'd be fair for me to get butthurt about it, you know? Like, oh, well, this is my outpost. It's like, okay, well, you didn't build a fucking workbench in the forge, dude. Like,
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's definitely also be mindful of resources. Like, I think Cent did manage to get all the stone for Barnland from around Barnland, which is the idea, as specified here in this area, that preferably the valuable resources that are going to be needed for each outpost would wait, that's not the one, it's down here, are going to be acquired from the land that the outpost is on. That will get that I feel like that's going to add to the slow play of the server. It'll slow things down a little bit. It's like starting fresh over and over again, all within the same.
Don't just bring copper and tin with you when you go to a new land.
Right.
Get it from that new land.
Yeah. So, and that's, again, we're in this together. If you're going to, like, okay, guys, I'm going to start building this outpost over here. I'm going to need some help gathering resources for the blah, 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 blah. Like, I guarantee you I'm fucking dropping what I'm doing and I'm heading over there to help. And I know a lot of us on this server are all about it. And we're going to come bring it together. And one of us is going to get tin, one of us is going to get copper, one of us is going to get wood. And you're going to be sitting there and people are just going to be throwing things at you while you're building it. You know, like, I would like to see more of that happening. So on this note, you are going to be allowed to have your own private quarters within your outpost that you're building because it is your home. You will be allowed, obviously, to have a closet for your own storage. We will all be able to tell when you go in, this is so-and-so's room, this is so-and-so's closet. Be respectful, be mindful of that. But also keep in mind that valuable resources ideally aren't going to be hoarded per person.
Right.
So if you go and you gather a bunch of iron for your upgrades at said outpost, the remaining iron should go into the communal chest at said outpost versus being hidden under a floorboard for later use. Nobody has really been doing that on this server, hoarding materials or anything, which is good, but we just want to make sure everything is out in the open and available for people to go and use, as other people are making other things available for other people to use. So everyone's just pitching in one way or another. That being said, if you're out and you get something rare, like super rare, like we're talking a stone golem trophy, or a wraith trophy, which aren't as rare as they used to be, or a Fenring trophy, and you want to keep that kind of off to your own little thing for your own decor in the future, that's obviously clear and like acceptable. But things like iron and stuff that's actually needed by everybody, we want to keep that as transparent as possible to what the group has available. If there's any issues on that, please say so. It's what we're going for here. I just want to make sure everyone's okay with that. Cool. As we've done in the past, there is going to be a portal system on each landmass that we found. I don't know if it's added here or not, so I'm just going to take this spot to mention it. As we're exploring and we come across landmasses, we're going to change a little bit how we refer to them. If you zoom all the way in on the landmass and majority of the landmass is within that all the way zoomed in range, it's not a landmass, it's going to be an island. Larger landmasses are going to be referred to as continents. Those continents are going to be set up with outposts and portal systems going to and from, with the exception of things like it does say portal systems should be erected with resources acquired from that land with limited outsourcing from homeland. If we do end up with a shit ton of cores, and we want to just go grab some cores from homeland to set up this portal system, by all means go right ahead. But whenever possible, if we can, there's gonna be burial chambers there, so we're gonna clear those. We're gonna get things. It'll just kind of furthermore the play through. So that was basically one weekly event. Boom. That's like a whole lot of shit to do. Also, we've got boss fight preparation. When those times come that we decide it's time to fight a boss, we will come together and go to where we're going to fight the boss at nearby. Maybe build like a little resting room there that we can all go to. We can sleep. Daylight comes, boom, we're there. We fight the boss and we're out. Whatever have you. We maybe fill up chests with food. We have beds there, so if someone dies during the boss, they spawn right there. They get right back into the action. That's going to be part of the boss fight preparation kind of ideas that we're going for. And then we've also got something as corny and boring as Resource Week as an event possibility, where, you know, we're just going to take that time when people log on. Oh, it's Resource Week. All right, let's go gather some shit. And we just start kind of refilling chests that are always going to be, we're always going to be on that anyway, filling things up. But these will be weeks dedicated to kind of getting people all on the same page of, okay, we're loading up our supplies right now, whether it be just homeland or we're going to load up homeland and this outpost, and just kind of get things available for whatever we need whenever we need. Road building, I really like this one. I feel like the ideas have been there in the past, and now with speedy paths it also makes sense, where it'd be like, okay guys, this week we're just going to focus on building some roads. You know, you go to one side, I go to the other, we'll meet in the middle. House to house, copper to copper. If you want to include tin on that path, that way if we decide, okay, we're going to go gather resources this week, let's go get all this copper out of here, we've got a path. Boom. We put the cart, we're running with a 5% speed buff, and we just get her done.
Another thing about tin I was just going to say is that if you build a road to collect tin, you're probably building a road alongside a river, which in and of itself is probably beneficial. You know, like having a road that runs along a riverbank is kind of nice. You know, if you cross over at that point anywhere. You can hop on, build a cart, carry shit over. I don't know. I think it makes sense to do that.
And then along with
Question.
that, go ahead.
Does the road mod require pathin or does it require flatten?
Oh,
Or both?
I think it's not pathin. Unfortunately, I think it is the. Actually, I don't know. I don't know if it's the hoeing of the ground, the flatten, or if it's the pathin.
It may just detect that there's dirt there instead. Because I'm
Possible.
not sure it might not actually be different.
This is true. We might want to play with that idea.
Yeah.
Definitely something to look into. Also, another possibility of a week event, canal building. If there's some spots where somebody saw and thought, oh, this would be a really good spot for a canal, and they put it on the map, canal ? Sea anal ? Whatever. And when we get these canals built, we'll add like a little small dock. People can, as they're passing through, they could stop for repair. If they want to unload some stuff, they can do so, and whatnot. We also had the idea of a possible raiding week. We're kind of just coming up with as many ideas as we could for things, events, brainstorming, and brings us to open to suggestions. On these ideas of weekly events, if anybody had any questions or conflicts with any of these ideas, or you wanted to elaborate on any of them or add some ideas,
Or
the
just
floor
say
is
that
yours.
they suck.
Or just say that they
You
suck.
said they suck.
And
Yeah,
that
that's
this
fine.
and that this whole note system is retarded. I mean, that's fine
Yeah,
too. You can
no,
say
you
that.
guys
Well,
have gone way too
I have
far.
I have a general comment,
Please.
possibly suggestion, on portal usage as a whole. Do we want to limit the use of portals in any way?
I know what you're getting at with that. And I've gone back and forth in my brain about it, just requiring additional, like, kind of forcing the travel by foot and other means.
Or even just say don't use a portal unless you intend it to be permanent.
Or
maybe you
only
can move it
admins make
around.
portals.
Maybe you can move it around at that location, but don't just carry a portal with you because I went through a barrier crypt, I'm full. I'm just gonna dump all my stuff out now.
Okay. What was, I think, Toys, you were saying something?
That's really honor system right there.
Right.
So it's been a big topic in Valheim all over about the no portals and how portals are used, at least. I love the idea of it only being admin, where it's only like to get from one continent to the other.
Okay.
I don't trust our admins, but I'm okay with the idea.
Wait, what?
Okay, so let's go into this a little bit then. What time is it? Yeah, let's go into this a little bit. So, if we wanted to do either continent travel or maybe continent and then far side of continent travel, to where, like, because there's some continents that we even came across, and I mean we've all been there playing this game where it's almost the length of the world.
Create some arbitrary distance at which you need it to be at least that far between portals on one continent.
Okay.
So the outpost can still have its sub portals, but it's at the discretion of the admins.
Okay.
Like, I would say both our current mainland and Barnland can justify having 4 portals each.
Yeah.
Just because of how large they are. We need a northwest, east, and south because otherwise you're running for like 10 minutes, to get from one point to the other. Beyond that, if it's not a huge continent like the ones that we're currently dealing with, 1, maybe 2, seems like it's probably going to be sufficient.
Well, Mountaintop is almost as big as the 2 you're mentioning.
So, I mean, and maybe we just kind of make that determination. Like, we start with 1, and, if we find that the continent is enormous, we kind of, talk to the group, like, do we want to add more? I don't know. Restricting it only to admins? I mean, I see.
I'm not saying you have to place it, but I'm saying we should at least get tacit approval from the general consensus.
I think, running stuff by each other, maybe is not a bad idea. I mean, I think we're all going to have our little random ones that it's like, I don't know, like using portals to avoid really, really tedious stuff is kind of nice. Like when I'm harvesting wood, okay, well, I just chop down 20 trees. Now I got to go
That's-
chop down 20 more.
Well, that's where
Like-
you bring your cart with you.
Right, but do I want to run for 10 minutes each time with a load of wood?
No, that's
Or-
where you announce, "Hey guys, I'm hitting the tree farm. Let's get a
Mhm.
convoy of carts going." And
Mhm, mhm.
we get 3 people involved. We fill in with 3 carts, and we make an adventure out of it where we're running.
And it stops being tedious when you get a group doing it too.
And I mean, I think that's just something we also have to recognize, like, and especially me being someone who spends a lot of time doing shit alone, like, if we're kind of trying to just make everything more of a group event, like, I need to be more cognizant of that too, But I think we should just be kind of aware that that's, like, kind of where we're heading, it's like everything we do is, sure, everyone's still going to have their individual space and time and whatever, but, like, we're kind of trying to orient things even more than we have been towards, group participation all the time.
Right. Okay, so these are all good things. On the topic of the portal system, I think reducing the amount of portal travel, not getting rid of it, but just definitely reducing it, will kind of encourage more team activities. And also, my only downside is sometimes some of us might be playing where we're like, okay, I'm falling asleep, but yeah, I'll go hit a couple of these things with you, and then I'll just portal out. It's gonna affect that aspect of things, but maybe I'm sure that's a workaround.
Or
do
or
we
maybe
not-
we just make an allowance for situations like that, where it's like everybody gets a fucking bailout portal. Like, I gotta go. My cat just knocked over my entire coffee pot all over the floor. I gotta bail or something.
Well, here's the
like,
thing though, is like, then log out.
True.
Log out where
you're
you
going to-
are, and sort it out when you get back on.
I guess. Yeah, I guess that's true.
Like, it's a
You're
video
probably
game.
gonna-
You can
you're
just log
probably
out.
gonna log out. Anyway. Yeah, I don't know. That's a good.
So it was almost a good point.
Yeah, no, you're right. Yeah.
Um,
And that's what I would do. I'd be like, fuck this, cancel, exit out of the game.
Why the fuck am I in the middle of the ocean? Log out.
Yeah.
Oh
no! Somebody come back and save me.
All right, so I think we'll go ahead and
Launching an
we're
expedition.
gonna definitely do some consideration on this one with the portal
Mhm.
systems. Let me see here.
I mean, even I think just as I've been setting up my own little portal like outpost at Barnland, I'm like, man, it would just be kind of nice to streamline it, just for that reason alone. Just be like, okay, when you do encounter a portal, it's easy to know where it's going and
Right.
it's-
So on that note, I just want to ask, does this fall into the same category of having a May drop style portal? We're doing away with that concept.
I think we should.
Okay. All right, cool.
so no central nexus.
Well, no May drop.
Oh, I see.
Yeah,
Just the main.
Toys, if I think you're familiar with it, we have the one portal titled
Yeah.
May Drop that you
Yeah.
could just quickly get back and drop shit off. I think the concept to limiting portals is going to reduce that or remove that ability.
Sure, it
So.
makes it more adventure.
It does. It does.
And we're also going to have to. I mean, I think we should also be aware that we're going to have to be more strategic about where we place things.
Yes.
Like, which is good. I mean, like now, and we also have to be more progressive about how we go. Like, okay, first we have to explore and we have to identify where the different resources are, because that's going to affect where we place different things, where we build roads, where we build outposts, where we build processing stations, etc., is going to depend upon, because that knowledge of how far certain things are away and how long it's going to take us to get there and how many people we need to do it efficiently. So like,
Yeah. It's fun, right?
so no, I think that's
It
cool.
is.
I just think we're committing to kind of a process, and I'm just trying to be like I'm down. I think it's great, but if anyone's like, I don't know about that.
So I did want to just confirm, did anybody have any, on the topic of weekly events, any ideas that we could add that would qualify as a weekly event that we would draw focus to for the group during that week? Any ideas beyond
Nah,
what
it
we
seems
already
fine.
have? Okay. And I have an app that I could set up like a spin wheel thing and maybe just hit it randomly and see what we get, and that'll be what we do, or what we focus on. So, going on to our exploration expectations. Like I was saying earlier, small islands equal to the smaller, equal to or smaller than your fully zoomed in size on the map will serve. If we would do anything there, it'll be just a small dock for resting areas, campgrounds kind of deals. Whereas you're exploring around, you're like, oh shit, we need to repair. Oh, let's just go to this trade post right here and repair. Maybe we can sleep, get daytime, whatever have you.
Yeah, the basics.
Even though I think most of us want to sail at night so we can get sea serpents, but whatever it is, you know. Larger land masses will be treated as continents, and they're going to receive the full treatment of the outposts that will be built on it and a portal system plus resource extractions. So that's where we're going to be going and gathering more copper, tin, iron. When we get to it, silver, hitting the swamps for freaking blood bags, what have you, all that jazz. It'll all be happening on that continent for that continent. It'll be another place to go grab things if we need. Um, there's the topic of a our current permitted radius that we've been going back and forth about to control how much exploring we're doing of the world to leave enough for future updates and for future activities for us. So we're going to try to limit how far out from the central spawn point we can explore.
We currently limiting like don't go into the plains until we've done X boss, or are we just limiting radius?
Well, that we've kind of been talking about both.
So here's the thing: is I feel like I'm all about like my personal gameplay is I'm all about going wherever the hell I feel comfortable going to. But also in the defense of that statement, I never tire of the game. So I don't know if I want to say that and then open up the floor for people to just go get whatever the hell they want to get and then feel like they've run out of things to do.
Well, consider that we had silver like pre-Ichther.
Yes, that's also going to come up here soon too.
Right.
Silver is one thing I've always on my servers. Once I found out I could, I've ground pounded, found silver, made cloaks, and then forgot about the silver. And I just feel like it makes going into the mountains easier. But hey, that's what frost potions are for. The idea is we're going to play this one a little bit more along the designed gameplay. Eben, I know you are very comfortable going into the plains naked with a dagger. So like I don't want to shit on your gameplay at all.
No, I am all for that restriction.
Okay. So as it is right now, what we were discussing was we can go into the plains once we can actually do something with what we're getting from the plains. So basically once motor is dead, now we can go and start hitting the plains because we can actually turn around and start doing stuff with the black metal that we get, with the wheat and the barley and the flax that we get. All that stuff. We can actually start making things with it. So as far as restricting the radius that we can travel, radius is going to be kind of a soft used word because it's going to be more of like a perimeter.
Maybe a continent.
So
continent radius instead.
Yeah.
the best. Go ahead.
I was just going to say that was kind of something we brought up yesterday was the notion of instead of, trying to define a radius because we run into the problem of, an unexplored map. Well, how do you know when you've reached the perimeter? Like it's just a line on a picture somewhere. And so unless we go through this elaborate process of everyone updating their maps with like, a ring of circles or
Actually,
dots.
If we did the common map mod that I know Hoop and I were talking about, and it's not on the vote list, you could actually do a outline of dots.
Okay. Yeah, and if we wanted to do that, and that's it's just I think that goes server side, and then we're kind of in a different, I mean that could be the only server side thing, but then it does open that kind of can of worms of do we do other server side stuff.
So there's a mod called Creature Level and Loot Control that is meant to be so you can turn shit up, right, and make things spawn raw. But it naturally comes with rings to give levels of how far away you are from start and how dangerous it is. I don't know if you can use it to like
Set,
turn
like, a
off,
lower-
like, yeah, so things are normal, but
right.
you get the rings, which is like the level 1 ring, level 2 ring.
Okay.
I don't know, just out there. I don't know.
No, that's an interesting idea, actually.
So, as far as creating a boundary to stay within, one method that I did toy with, outside of the many ideas that I had to make this possible, was a scroll out method on the map. So you put spawn point in the center of your map and you mouse wheel out 10 times. That's your border.
Yep.
And then when we go on to the next radius or perimeter, you mouse wheel out 2 times, and then another 2 times, and then another 2 times.
The only thing that comes up to me as you're mentioning that is that we might not all have our mouse rate calibrated the same, and so I don't know if it zooms the same for everyone.
Okay.
Like,
so with that being
potentially
said,
tied to a physical setting on my mouse or something.
So with that being said, once we all start on this server fresh, I myself will zoom out 10 times on the map, and I will ping the 4 corners, and everybody can put their own mark.
We might just want to say, continent by continent, yes, go here, no, don't go here.
That's also kind of the angle that I was going for, is maybe we say, or kind of along that line, we obviously know whatever our main continent will be. As soon as we go on our first sailing expedition, maybe we try to limit ourselves to like the first 3 land masses we find. That's it.
Or just try to fully uncover the map in a blob from the center. Don't no stringy stuff going off to the horizon.
Okay, so that thought crossed my mind as well, where say we sail west, as is the Viking way, and and we land on a continent. From there, you don't go sailing any further west. You instead start making a circle from that point around spawn to the next land, to the next land, to the next land. And then once that circle is complete, you make sure that we fill up everything or we clear out everything in the middle.
Sure.
And that goes, and here's the thing though, once that's all cleared, does that clearing out include everybody? Everybody has to have explored that for themselves, versus 2, 3, 4 crazy explorers that like to always go and they're gung-ho and they're getting it done, but then you got someone Glory that's back at their home building things. Oh, she's not here to defend herself. That's rude. Who hasn't uncovered anything because she's more comfortable at home. We're going to have to kind of pull her along. But like I said to everybody when we first started playing this server, and as is said in the current server rules, is the pace of the server is at the slowest pace, or at the pace of our slowest member. So we either need to pull them out of their bubble a little bit and not and avoid making them feel like they're holding people back. But like I had asked in the beginning of the statement, do we not move beyond that radius of uncovering until everybody has it clear, or just until it's cleared in general?
I think there's room to have a discussion on that later. Some people are going to say, "Oh, I don't want to uncover the whole map." So
I also think there's an argument to tie it to boss level. Like until we beat X, we don't go beyond this.
Okay.
Like we stay very close to the spawn point for the first boss, then we expand a little further for the next boss, and et cetera, et cetera.
I'd also like to see something along the lines of we either don't go to explore a new land beyond that first continent that we discover until either A, it's a week by week, which gives us, if we play for a year on this server, sorry if that sounds crazy to you guys, then that gives us 52 weeks, 52 continents that we can go through and discover. Or do we
that
do
seems
it?
Fair.
Okay. or do we do it on a spin wheel basis, where if the wheel tells us it's a land to conquer week, then we can go continue that circle and find a new continent.
Oh, that works too.
Okay, that way it's not
Yeah,
limited
a
to
little
just
more
52.
structured.
Yeah, a
Yeah,
little
it's
bit
kinda
more
cool.
structured and toss of the dice.
Because
Alright.
there's
Right.
plenty
And I
of
mean-
stuff to do on lands we've already uncovered.
This is true.
Right. Right. And we could also kind of agree too that, like, if we get the same thing like 3 weeks in a row, we're not going to do it. Like if we get road building 3 weeks in a row,
Nope,
okay,
too
fuck
bad.
this. We're not doing that.
Paving the whole world.
Yeah, we're paving everything. It's a fucking road. We're paving the fucking trees.
All right. Okay, let's carry on from here. So I think we're all there's 3 people that have mentioned, but I think
Yep.
the idea of spinning the wheel, we get to explore a new land if it lands on it. We're all about that.
That sounds kind of cool.
Sounds good.
All right, cool.
What's that?
Cool. And when we are exploring, for the 3 or 4 people that are on the boat, if no one on the boat wants to claim that particular continent, then I'm going to be adding a channel. Let me make sure I draw attention to this. I'm going to be adding a channel called Claimable, and you can post a screenshot of the map and with that area on it, and just put a little message, this land is claimable, and then someone could just go to that channel and look and see, oh, okay, cool, I'm going to take that. They type it in the chat. They take ownership. They should, next time they're on, go and start building up that continent. So this will be worth mentioning as well. As I said earlier, remember that exploration happens in groups. This is a number greater than 2, preferably. If there's only 2 people on, so be it. But if there's 4 people on, really try to like hold off on exploring unless you can get everybody in on it. Map pins. Ugh. So this is a really hard thing to work around. We do have
I've
most
been
of our
losing sleep over this.
Yeah, I've been working tirelessly trying to figure out a way past this. We do have decent abbreviations for all of our pins that we're going to mark. Some have kind of been born through this server. For one example, from what I've typically done to what Evan's typically done is completely different, but I do like his approach to the idea of like the fooling villages. I do like that he uses a campfire marker versus the hammer marker. I don't like that he types out fooling versus FV. I prefer to keep everything short. It reduces the ultimate clutter when you're zoomed out on a map. So whenever possible, things being abbreviated to 1 to 2 letters would be ideal.
Helps that I don't mark berries. That's probably why.
Yeah. On that note, as you can see here, if anybody's following along on the notes, we are going to enforce preferably a very strict marking of mushrooms and berries to only clusters of 5 and up. When you get, this is mainly going to be helpful for the starting up of the server, the 5, because 5 is big money when you're starting off. But when we get to other lands, we're going to do 7 and up clusters, because we don't need to mark.
It's really
things.
just to keep the map markers from getting completely insane. Because
I just feel like at some point we don't even need to mark raspberries and blueberries.
Well, raspberries are always going to be needed for health pots.
Right, but I mean like outside of the starter island. we
Oh, okay,
probably don't
like
even have
if
to
we're
mark those at all.
if we're getting berries, we're just going back to homeland to get them.
Right. Whereas mushrooms, I feel like mushrooms are generally harder to find, so we might want to continue marking mushrooms even off the starter land.
Okay.
But to that point, there may also be a reasonable radius of acclimation with mushrooms that we may want to limit as well. Like maybe
Mic
we only
off.
need to go through the first 2 or 3 islands to find mushrooms. We can
Mic
establish, like a mushroom run like we kind of have currently that, really hits a target quantity,
Sure.
like, okay, every time you go you get 3 stacks, or something like that. And from there we know that we can just kind of, it's easier to plan out, like somebody needs to make 3 mushroom run this, we need to make 3 mushroom run this week or something.
Well, that'll also tie into the resource week.
Right.
So I mean, again, like I mentioned when we were talking about resource week, these things are going to be happening constantly
Yeah.
anyway because we never need to stop getting resources. But yes,
Also,
But
to
I'm just saying
clarify,
we might. Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead, Evan.
to clarify, I use the campfire for the geysers. I think I used the house for the fooling villages, not the. I've used both in the past, but I definitely think campfires might make more sense than hammers.
so my only
yeah.
reservation with using a house for the Fooling Village is I typically only ever use houses for player built areas.
Okay.
So it
'Cause I
stands out
also-
as a safe area.
Sure. On my single player, I even mark like the little pre-built towers in the Black Forest with the house.
I don't. Yeah.
So I will stop doing that.
Okay. I was gonna ask about that.
Okay.
Perfect.
Yeah, I prefer that too.
Okay. So Sentient has been kind of slowly going through, mainly slowly because we want to make sure we're all on the same page, designing a legend that we will most likely end up, once it's complete, putting it up on the server info spot that we can all refer to if there's any ever questions about what to use on what when we're marking. But we do want to get everybody on the same page using the same markers. Unfortunately, that's one thing that's just going to make the gameplay with a group much easier if we're all on the same page. I did adapt or adopt Elrose's method to marking things like berries and mushrooms, but I revised it a little bit where he was doing like BB plus how many are there. I removed the plus because I feel like it's one extra keystroke that's not needed when you're just trying to mark things and go. And I also took down things like BB down to just B because we know the only raspberries are R, blueberries are blue or B.
Right.
So we could do away with the extra keystrokes and just keep it short and sweet. B7, BAR7, whatever. So, I don't know if I want to discuss this. I did get a mod, or I did find a mod called Map Pin Export. That I don't know enough about it. I'm sorry. That's just
Yeah, I think we can probably make do with the in-game stuff as long as we all follow the rules.
Yeah.
Well, and I mean, I think the other thing I've been considering too, along with the map tables, is just being a lot more careful about when and how we construct them. You know, like
I think we should create a building that has one map table for each person, and each person writes their own table, and that way we know exactly who's screwing it up.
Yeah.
that's interesting. Okay. That's interesting.
All right. Cool.
Go, holy shit! Sentient's got 500 icons on here. He's got
He'll
icons.
he'll be like,
every
my
pine tree.
My table's been sabotaged.
All right. So sorry, I do have to skip the good times. I'm sorry. I feel like such a freaking Scrooge. So exploits and natural flow of game, as we were mentioning earlier. I said exploits, weird. Exploits. We will not be utilizing any end-game exploits this time around. I'm sad to see this go, but it does bring up a few topics that we need to discuss. We're not going to be doing any troll farming of resources that we cannot already farm ourselves.
No.
When you say cannot already farm ourselves, if I'm going the workbench only route, does that mean I can't use it on birch trees when you guys can chop birch?
That means that if the group cannot get ourselves, which includes all of us,
then I will continue to do that once you guys are able to.
Okay. There will be no, sorry, Elrose. there will be no ground pounding for silver or iron. And those of you that have played with me know that this is devastating to me, because this is my method for getting silver. We will not be doing this. We will be relying on the necessity to kill bone mass and get the wishbone to find the silver and buried iron, if we decide to find buried iron, which is
a lot
weird.
of the. What about the exposed ones? Just don't use them early, or
I mean,
we could still find an exposed iron vein, then find an exposed silver vein, and then we have the same issue.
If you so happen to find, well, you can't get silver without iron anyway.
Correct, but I've found dozens of exposed iron veins on our current server.
And you have also had the wonderful luck of finding oozes that drop iron, and you're able to do things with iron. And that's not an exploit, that's the game giving us a handout. When
Okay.
that happens, I feel that, as we're going to come up here soon on a topic, but I'll say it here and I'll be saying it again. Focus on where is it? Focusing on communal goals. When every choice should be supported by the idea / question: is this for me or for the group? Everything that we're trying to build here is a communal kind of thing, to where we're always thinking about the other person. So if you so happen to come by a bunch of oozes that drop iron and you're able to smelt it, are you going to use that iron to make yourself something, or are you going to use it to make a table that everyone has access to furthermore the group's strength? So things like that are going to be needing to be considered. So yes, if there's silver exposed and you're like, cool, we have, I mean, I don't know. If we
We all
have
get
iron,
cloaks now.
yeah, if we
Sure.
have iron already, cool, we found this silver exposed, we all get cloaks, like you said.
Yeah.
And then, now we have an upgraded cooking station. Cool. And this is all going
Sure.
to be communal. And I would say even go so far as to say maybe we can take some of the silver next time we sail across the world to this outpost to upgrade that cooking station. Traveling with small amounts of these benefits, like silver and iron that we got lucky and found early because the game gave it to us outside of an exploit, I think we can justify, let's get this over here for a small upgrade at a table or a cooking station.
Mhm.
And now
say-
we're
I
making
would
an
say-
adventure out of that as well.
I would say too that the game is really designed, around this notion of being thoughtful about how you do things. So if you find, advantageously find something, and then are like, hey, this would be great to use over here because it would give us an advantage in this area. Like that's totally in the spirit of what the game is trying to do.
Right. So we got those two. I hate this. Let's discuss breeder boxes.
Say no breeder boxes.
Hey, let's discuss. I'm gonna say things, and then you're gonna listen, and then you're gonna talk. Okay?
I'll repeat myself after you talk. Go ahead.
So here's the thing about breeder boxes. Okay, I agree. It's kind of janky. It's kind of weird. Broken a little bit, and I know even the devs' standpoint on it is very much against it, but they're not going to do away with it. They made some changes to how it works. We found the workaround, and we still have breeder boxes. The alternative to breeder boxes is big open fenced in fields where the animals roam, and it's very whatchamacallit?
Nice sword.
Scenic.
It's an eyesore. It's scenic. It's all of those. But no, it's what does PETA do about the animal?
Free range.
It's like free range. It's very pet friendly, whatever, animal friendly,
Until you
humane.
kill them and brutally,
Yes.
brutally murder them. Yeah.
As I will. So that is our alternative to finding a level 2-star boar, which I will only spend time on a 2-star boar, or a 2-star wolf, and breed them in big open fenced in fields. And then it limits how much we can bring in at any given time, which does give us more task of having to go over daily and get rid of, kill off whatever we can, leaving 6 or 7 behind so they can start boning again. So
Mhm.
is are breeder boxes an exploit that we want to avoid? Possibly, but I want to hear from everybody, not just Eben, what they feel about breeder boxes. Yay or nay on breeder boxes?
Nah.
Eben, you can nay or yay.
I don't even think we should tame animals.
Fuck off. That's not an option here. That's in the game. It's not an exploit. All right, dog. All right. Elrose, yay or nay? Yeah, I know. It's hard. You know what? How about this, Elrose? Because I know you want to say yay, and so do I. But here's the thing, Elrose. Let's give it a shot.
All right. No.
I've never-
I'll say while I'm on the nay side of things, I also don't actually care.
Okay. So
I'm
let's
in the same boat.
let's give it
I'm
a
on the
solid.
yay, but I don't care.
Okay. maybe here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna part of this talking point was to keep in mind that some things are gonna have to be put up to an actual vote
Right.
for the group. So we're gonna leave this to a vote and let the group collectively decide what we want to do about that.
I do just want to say that in addition to that, even like where we are now, like I'm choosing deliberately not to kill certain animals because we already have too much shit. You know, like, or I'm like, oh, we'll just get this from the breeder box anyway. So like, if we flip that and we were all actively like, okay, kill everything that you see, you know, we would have a lot more than we do. You know, it wouldn't be as efficient as a breeder box, but it would still be pretty efficient.
So moving on from that, do we consider Surtling spawn farming an exploit?
Using the water method.
Yeah.
I
They
mean,
were idiots.
it's easy enough to just. You still have to go there. They'll kill themselves half the time anyway.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I think that's fine.
Do we want to remove the concept of AFK farming?
No, especially I think for Surtling cores, because it's like sometimes you can go into a frickin' chamber and get one. You know.
Yeah, I
and-
don't think it gives you that much of an advantage. Even the amount of
and-
coal you get, it's like it doesn't give you that much.
No, it's and like if for every group of Surtlings that spawns, you get what 2 to 3 cores max.
Right.
Really? Like so.
So
And 2 cores is what? How many? We need like 5 for a kiln or whatever, and 5
Yeah.
for a, So, you could sit there and AFK for 45 minutes or something, and get 15. I don't know.
oh,
There's
the
only-
cores.
Yeah, if there's
Yeah.
only one.
Yeah,
If
about.
there's only one spawner,
Okay, so on that note, as far as Surtling spawner farming, AFK farming, or do we want to lean more towards the idea of finding routes where there's a bunch of them and it's not an AFK farm, it's a run the route, grab them all, but then we're going back to the portal system where you pour it in, run the route, pour it out. Pour it in, run the route, pour it out.
I'm fine with AFK spawns.
Okay.
Me too.
I just don't want the. Like, I'm fine with the AFK farming there. I just don't like the breeder boxes because we're kind of glitching the game.
Yeah. Same.
Okay, I see what you're saying there. That's a good point also. And then the Gator spawning farm for the AFK farm. Yay or nay? Do we care?
Well, didn't that require wolves?
Yes.
So that makes it a little harder.
I'm nay just because I currently don't know what I need to do to maintain it if it breaks.
Okay.
I mean, like, so if I understood better, but it also does create another kind of discrete task, like, okay, we've got this thing that we've constructed. Now we all have to know how to keep it up,
Right. And for the most part, the only thing it's giving us that's super valuable is wood, which
Yeah.
we're going to be obtaining that legit anyway. All the
I think
trophies are just used for coal at this point.
Yeah, and I think
Um,
some of these interesting tree farm designs we're pursuing may result in much more efficient wood gathering anyway.
True. So then we've got the last point on this topic. Anything that was mixed reviews, we were going to put up for a vote, as is going to be the case with the breeder boxes. We will put that up for a vote for the group, and majority will win on that one. And I also put a note because Sent did make a very good point. And I will put a note for people that want to refer back to this recording and hear his point. They can listen in there. Going on to exploration range versus boss progression. We had mentioned this earlier, but the radius we're going to increase per boss that we kill. As we've already discovered playing the server with each other, we're very good at not rushing boss fights. So it'll really get to the point of like, do we have anything else to explore within the radius? No, we don't. Do we have anything else to clear in the radius? No, we don't. All right, maybe we go kill a boss. And then the radius just gets a whole lot bigger because even 2 tabs out, it's much larger. Oh, wait, but we decided not to do the tabs out. We were going to do according to the spin the wheel. Okay.
Mhm.
And I will make some adjustments for that. Radius that increase per boss cannot sail outside the radius. Obviously, we all understand that. However, as we were discussing, if the land mass that you land on or that you see is within the radius, we are more than welcome to ground travel outside the radius. But if you get to the border of that continent and there is water that you have to swim through, you cannot cross it. So we stay only on where you can ground travel.
Like I think the current Maypole or current main island is a good example. Like technically the southern part, or there's actually there's a section to the south of it that I guess we're considering a separate continent, but it's technically swimmable, but it would be a separate island or a separate continent in that context, I think.
Right. So I mean that's something where we would have been limited on being able to travel over it because it did require some sort of swimming. So that would have been like, whatever. We got to move past that. But yeah, we all get it. Any questions about that part, or is that pretty understandable? Because this is going to be a big deciding factor for the longevity of the server if we all follow the exploration range.
Just on the line, if you have to swim, like what about like rivers? Like maybe you could find rocks to jump across, sort of thing. We're talking like actual swimming, not just here's a river.
I think rivers are. I would say rivers are part of the continent in which they belong.
If you can sail a boat down it.
Well, like if I turn a longship sideways, I could just jump across the river. What about that?
I would say let's put that one up to a more discussion later.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Let's let's go ahead and I'll add a note about that. All right, and then moving on to, as I previously mentioned, and I wanted to draw some attention to this as well, focusing on communal goals. Hi, Katie. By the way, welcome. I do have my screen shared if you wanted to follow along on the notes. So I did mention this before, and it was on the server rules, or at least I thought it was, but I just want to kind of go into this again and make this known, that we should not be running around nobody should have upgraded armor until everyone has tools or weapons from that material, because we are doing everything communal and everything for the group. So if we I know some people don't like running around with bronze gear. I myself like going through the motions and having every set of gear that's made available, which makes me a special case with a lot of needs. But we want to focus up on back to what I said earlier and what's coming up again here soon is choices that we make. Are we making them for ourselves or are we making them for the group? So if all of a sudden, okay, we're getting deer hide now, and we're getting leather armor. I just made my full set. I'm not going to upgrade my full set until everybody has the armor that's equal to what I have. And it keeps us all on the same playing field, and it keeps us all helping each other out. So again, we're going back to, we're making choices for other people beyond just ourselves, and that's going to kind of cut back on or delay the drive feeling in the game because you're constantly helping other people. This goes the same with Troll. This goes the same with Bronze, with Iron, with Silver. Once we get to these stages of the game, when we get to Iron, if you are going to make Iron gear, cool. If you're not, make your weapons, but don't upgrade them until everybody has what they need for their weapons or tools from that Iron. Once everyone has them, we can start upgrading. I don't necessarily want to sit here and police it, and I also don't want to sit here and police the level of upgrading that people do. Like now everyone has their iron pickaxe, I'm taking mine to level 4. Maybe take it to 2 and see, does anyone else need to upgrade to level 2? And then to 3, does anyone else need to take it to 3? And we just kind of keep playing off of each other with that. Who is this feedback
Maybe.
right now?
Turn it up.
Okay. So let's keep that in mind. As mentioned here, when we are making the new gear weapons, there should be no upgrades until everyone has what they need from that material. and then they too will be open to upgrading once we're all in the same boat with each other. Um, as I said earlier, every choice that we're making in the game should be supported by the idea or question that is this for me or is this for the group? I really want this to be a focus. The idea to the server, I feel like the longevity depends on people making choices for other people beyond themselves. So always kind of just have that in the back of your head. If you're going to go do something, just think like, is this just benefiting myself or the group? And if we keep that in mind, I really believe that we can get this to go far. As I've just said multiple times, it'll just cut down on the longer it takes for the game to start feeling dry. And yes, this is just my theory, but I think it's sound. Beyond that, as far as what do people need, I don't know if anybody has any solid methods outside of talking about it and just sharing with people. How do we track what everybody needs and what stage?
We've got that big message board. Let's just expand upon that.
Okay. Now, on that message board, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I've actually brought up that having one giant centralized one is kind of, might be a little overwhelming for people. I tend to ignore some parts of it because it's just so much, and there's certain things that I know I'm not going to do. And so I've thought about the possibility of putting it more contextually. Like in the kitchen, we put things we need for the kitchen. In the crafting area, we put things we need for the crafting area. In the resource storage area, we put things that we're short of for resource storage. But I'm curious what everybody else thinks about it, and maybe I just need to shut up and read the damn sign. But just curious what other people think.
I think
that makes sense.
I had an idea. Did you have something to add, Evan?
Yeah, mine was actually like we could put personalized ones near the mailboxes. Personalized. Hey, I could use help with X.
Mm-hmm.
But I think a lot of it just like, we need to work on these outposts can be done via Discord as opposed to the in-game signs.
Right. I just want to make sure that people are actually actively looking at the posts when they get on. They make it somewhat routine. Sorry, it gets a little mundane and tedious, but it's routine that when you get on, you go to the Discord channel and you check updates or you check to-do list or you check something, wherever it's going to be, what we need is being checked and thoroughly read and make sure that we're all on the same page. We have this awesome platform for communication at our disposal called Discord, and I would just like to see if we are going to utilize it, that it's being utilized and not just posts being ignored.
Maybe that's the way to go, is to try and focus on Discord as our main communication means. Like, I don't know. We've just been kind of trying to split it between both, and maybe that's kind of shooting us in the foot too.
So, while we were discussing this, I had an idea kind of off of the back of Sense idea to discuss the tracking methods for people's needs. We could just make it so that our work areas will have a board behind it with signs, and it'll be 8 or 9 signs going down with each of our names on it, and then signs going horizontal away from those, and people can go and type particular gear that they need, or they can type that they, sword level 2 or whatever, or I don't know, something along those lines might be an idea.
Sounds like a good spreadsheet.
It's funny that you say that, because I was talking about with some brainstorming, like I don't want to go and make a spreadsheet because that's just super douchey, and it's like the extra thing that we have to go off to the side and like make sure everybody goes to the spreadsheet and fill out what you need. But it's like, this isn't a WoW server. I'm not trying to do all that. So I don't know. Anyway, so there's an idea. I feel like I want people to kind of brainstorm as you're playing, as you're going through things, kind of have this in the back of your head. If you come up with a really good idea, please pitch it in Gen Chat or something that you think would work really well. Sorry if it doesn't get taken on as a good idea, but don't let that shy away from pitching some ideas, because I think really any idea will be able to be considered, but ultimately we want something that's going to work smoothly for everybody. And as Evan said earlier, mailboxes. does anybody even care for the mailbox idea? Like, is this something that we should maintain the system of, or is it kind of just forgotten?
I think it's nice to have, but I also think people don't check them very often.
Correct.
But if they were placed more centrally, I think, as opposed to at the end of the storage spot, maybe we'd use them more. Who knows?
So at the entrance to the storage room?
Or at the entrance to the portal.
Okay. Okay, so you come through the portal and boom, your stuff's right there.
Yep.
Okay.
Also, I think if we're trying to use them for a more active purpose, we could try and define that. But like generally, I also like have kind of used mine as like a reserve, sometimes too. Like somebody put a bunch of food in mine at one point, and I was like, okay, well, I'll just use this as like next time I run out of food, I'll come over here and get extra food,
Right.
So.
Which I've done the same. I'm like, oh, I just need to drop a couple of tools off real quick, and I'll grab them later. But I think which I think is fine. It just I feel like becomes a problem when people are actually going and trying to utilize them for drop off for the group, and there's no room.
And again, I think like the same idea of with the signs of just like maybe we try to keep being contextual about things. Like the mailbox room is a separate area or something.
Right.
I don't know, where you just go there to give people shit or pick up shit that other people have given you.
Right, like a box full of coal. All right, so I think the mailbox system, does everybody agree, would probably serve us better if it was located better? Perfect. We will move on from that. I think going forward, if it's myself building a mailbox, I will try to make a little bit more sense of its positioning to be more easily accessible. As far as what the group needs, I put up that billboard at the portal at the spawn hub. Does anybody feel that that's been at all useful, or not really? It's just poorly placed, or maybe we should resort to Discord.
I think it should be in the portal hub, not the spawn area.
Okay. Okay, so it's the more trafficked area.
I think another thought too
Okay.
might just be that in next time around at the spawn, we just have one portal that takes you to the main area, and from there you can go to the portal hub. Like rather than having like a Maypole portal hub and a spawn portal hub and a port hub portal hub.
Right.
Like you just you spawn at spawn, you go to the portal, then you have access to everything else.
Well, I mean, we might even entertain the idea, depending on this next seed, just building home base right next to spawn.
That too, yeah.
Like that way, you go back to home base, you've got your buffs right there. You can go grab without having to travel somewhere else before you travel somewhere else. So it's
raises the interesting question: is it possible to build a structure around
No.
the spawn point?
No.
It's too big.
You could build around the perimeter of the area it allows you to build in.
Yeah, but I mean, could it be supported?
No, it's pretty
too
wide.
big. It's too large.
But
Yeah.
you could put a fence all the way around it and then just have a gate with a portal right there on the only way out. But honestly, just putting it nearby is good enough.
Yeah. So this came up while we were discussing in my head, and I wanted to bring it up with the group, and this will be kind of closing things out for us here within the next few minutes. The topic of roles came into my head while we were discussing things right now, and I wanted to see where everybody stood on that. My personal issue is when you start assigning roles to people, it starts getting very dry and monotonous because they get on, they do the same thing, and then they get off.
The biggest issue I've had with roles is not the role itself, but the restrictions that come along with it. So I did a server where like people are like, oh yeah, so and so's gonna do this and so is gonna do that, and then like I'm like, okay, well, I can find copper, but I can't mine it because I'm not a miner, and then I can't make things out of it because I'm not a blacksmith. So it's like, so I have to persuade other people to get on and do stuff so I can get access to XYZ.
Okay. That's definitely too far.
Yeah, that's nuts. But
Yeah.
I would say even like secondary or tertiary priorities for people, might be an option.
Well, if there is a spelunker role, I would like that.
Okay.
And even then we could make them very generalized, like, we don't have to have people be lumberjack. You could be resource gatherer, somebody could be builder, somebody could
Will be troll slayer, and if you find a troll, just bring it to my house and I'll kill it for you.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, harpoon the troll. Yeah, we could have troll harpooner to go with the troll slayer.
Great.
So some of the main roles, maybe not so necessarily roles, but kind of just taking on the responsibility that other people can also do. Like, just because one person has the responsibility doesn't mean other people can't chime in and do it. Would be examples like, because we're all using communal food, so who's cooking this food? Or do we want to just make sure everybody shares in the responsibility of, oh crap, there's, we're missing 4 or 5 slots of food. I'm just gonna go ahead and fill that up real quick, like.
Well, that's kind of where we are now, but I think we could also just say, like, maybe do some kind of vote or something where we each say, like, our 1, 2, like, top 3 things we would like to do. Make a list of cooking, crafting, I don't know, gathering,
like make it somebody's
pathing.
job. Like have somebody's job be fill up the arrow boxes. Have somebody's job be fill up the cooking boxes. Somebody else's top off the wood or the stone. Just
that's an interesting idea.
For like 5-10 minutes. Yeah.
Like if you were the crafting person, like if you were the person in charge of, like crafting, like it's your job to like tell people how much like iron we need and to make sure we have a certain amount of arrows or some shit like that.
No, while I don't want to force people to have tedious things, some people may actually enjoy, like, oh, I get to, cook all this food to top them off. Like some people may actually like that. So who knows? But I think that doesn't necessarily have to be decided ahead of time.
Right. Well, and I think we can also do it in a more like less overt way, like just say like, hey, or we could even just make lists and say like, if you're the person who wants to do this, these are the types of things that we need, and we don't have to like badger anyone into doing it. Just be
just give. We may only. I mean, how many different types of consumables do we need to pay attention to? Potions, arrows, food, right?
Right.
So just give each person one of those things to just check on when they think about it.
Right. That's a good point.
And there's going to be multiple people with the same thing, and it's just like if we just make a point of saying, hey, can you check on this every day, every other day? Just take a look. Go open all the potion boxes to make sure we're not out of health potions for the next time we want to do a boss.
Right. That raises an interesting point for me of like, I almost want to give people like silly titles like that reflect their weird responsibilities, like, sentient wood gatherer or something, / whatever.
Not silly. It needs to be silly.
Right. Well, here's the thing though, is that right? That's not silly. It needs to be more silly than that. The cool thing about that is I think I could probably figure out a way to actually give people nicknames in the Discord or add or alter people's names. I could look into that, and if that's possible, I could also just give them different titles, I guess, ultimately, and in doing so, and giving them different titles, it could be like, oh, they go log on, they're going to see that title, and they're like, oh, that's right, I'm the shroom gatherer. Okay, cool. And then they get on, I'm gonna go gather some shrooms. Oh, I'm the maker of arrows or whatever. Okay, cool. I'm gonna go make some arrows. So that might be a good thing to entertain. And it could also be something that alternates, where once a week I just get on and I just change people's roles, and then this week I'm doing this and this week I'm doing that. That way it breaks up the monotony of doing it and makes things a little bit more enjoyable. I wasn't thinking of all this with roles, but I like how this evolved, because I was thinking a little bit more simple or not so expanded. So I like that this came up. Going back to the idea of things, like really the only things I can think of that require a daily attention are things like if we do have breeder boxes, maintaining the supply, or even if we don't have breeder boxes but we have breeder pens where they're
feeding animals on there.
Feeding animals.
And calling the herd.
So anyway, okay. What time is it? Okay, let me get this out real quick. With roles, this is not a stab at you, Elrose. Slightly. But there are things like crops, which I feel like crops technically are going to be they're generally, I feel like, better controlled by one person, unless everybody has their own little crop field, and they're all just kind of tending to it as time goes on. And then they're all taking and filling up, and everyone shares in the responsibility. I feel like it's just, especially with crop replant and farm grid, it's just so much easier for one person to maintain it and fill up the chest.
I definitely did not do farming on this server apart from that one plains farm, simply because I was told that somebody else was already doing it, so I didn't even touch it.
Okay. Did you have desire to touch it?
I mean, I usually have small farms near my house, but it doesn't really matter.
Here's the thing.
I didn't do it specifically because it was already happening.
Here's the thing. If we have someone that is farming, there's no harm in creating another little farm somewhere.
Well, I mean, we created a farm, but I never actually did any of the farming at it.
Right. Which is, that weighed on my brain a little bit, I'm not going to lie, where I was like, oh, this big farm got made and never really got utilized.
It was originally, in my mind, about 4 or 5 times smaller than it ended up.
Yes. That also,
So
I would like to say as well, I would like to see us focus more on the control of size of things that are being built.
What?
Like Barnland, dude.
Okay, look. What if we have a scenario where 2 long ships have to pass through barn?
Okay, yeah. So
I'm just kidding.
I'm gonna mute this guy and keep talking. If we could focus up on keeping things practical, and that way, I mean, okay, here's the thing though. I don't want to ruin people's desires to create big and beautiful, cool things, but just keep in mind, are you building it big and beautiful for yourself, or are you building it big and beautiful for the group? And taking that forward, think about the usefulness, the time it takes to gather the resources and do all that for the stuff that you're building could be better served gathering resources that the group needs. I'd like to see more group efforts. I shouldn't say we. I'm not alone in this. Some of us would like to see more group efforts towards bettering the group enjoyment of the game than doing our own adventures.
Well,
but
and
I
also
want
realizing, I want to add
Go ahead.
too to that, just like, the further we get into the game together, the greater, more massive shit we can, collectively achieve. So, it takes a long time to get to that point, but for when we have 50 chests of stone or something like that, like, we can build quite a bit.
Let's make that the goal. We keep build
know?
small until we've shown that we can make the longevity of the server a reality. And now we've been playing this game for a ridiculous amount of time together, and we're still exploring new lands. And then we could take on the possibility of saying, hey, you know what? This new land, let's build a fucking castle, man. And then all of us are still in it together, and we put our heads together. We grab stone from all the outposts that we've gathered over the last 2, 3, 4, 5 months, and we build a fucking castle city. And then we go there and lag the fuck out. Like,
none of us can do anything.
So, anyway.
Except take screenshots. Yep, that's about it.
I definitely like the direction that we went with the roles. As far as farming goes, I know myself, I know Elrose, I know we're both capable of farming. Elrose, I know that you've got some stuff that, you've just been busy. And you can't always be there, and when you can't be there, I just step in because I'm also familiar with farm grid and replant, and I'm not going to mess up the crops, although shamans will apparently mess up the crops as they're all messed up right now. But that doesn't mean that other people can't make backyard farms, side project farms. You just built an outpost on a new land, and you want to put a farm out back. Do it.
I would go over there too. I just need to get the replant. I just don't have it right now. So
Right.
I have the grid, but I don't have the replant.
So just don't put in. I just also want to see, like, planting a farm is as easy as putting up a wood fence and cultivating the ground and laying some crops out. And with the grid, you get them in order and everything. It doesn't have to be extravagant. But if it's part of an extravagant outpost, then by all means, build an extravagant farm. Let's just be mindful of how big we're making things. Do things like Eben and Toys do, where you find an abandoned tower and then you move into it and remodel.
Reduce, reuse, recycle.
I think Eben and Toys are the same. I saw it when Toys was looking for a place. He goes, "Oh, I'll just repurpose this tower." I was like, man, this guy sounds like Eben right now. Like, oh look, this is already built for me. The only difference is Eben doesn't repair it. He likes to leave it rustic looking.
Nah, I got to
No,
protect
I-
myself from trolls. Man.
Hey, go look at the swamp outpost, and that is remodeled, but it is also repaired.
Yeah, I love remodel. It's so much fun to try and make it back to something nice again.
I also try to never build the same thing twice. So
Well,
I come up with a new style every time.